Marriage is our most important social institution for protecting children. It's the way that we teach young men and women they need to come together and to make and raise the next generation in love, so that children can know and be known by, love and be loved by their own mother and father. Marriage is a virtually universal human institution. It exists in every known human society, and it always has something to do with bringing together men and women into a public sexual union where their rights and responsibilities towards each other and towards any children that they make are publicly supported. What gay marriage does is it changes this most basic and enduring and consistent attribute of marriage in ways that are going to hurt, I think, children and the common good. They're also going to have an enormous effect on Catholics, as Catholics in our institutions, as well as those of other faiths that believe in any form of traditional sexual morality. Let's put it this way. There are two ideas at war in the marriage debate. The first is the gay marriage idea. You've heard it over and over again. It goes something like this: there's no difference between same-sex and opposite-sex couples, and anyone who thinks otherwise is a bigot. Okay, that's the gay marriage idea. The people who say that really mean it. The other idea is that there's something special about unions of husbands and wives that justifies their unique treatment in law and culture and society. That has been the marriage idea, not just in this society, but in virtually every known society, not just today, but yesterday and for thousands of years. What happens if the law of California picks the first idea? What if we say people like you and me, who think marriage is the union of husband and wife, are like bigots? The first thing that happens if the court redefines marriage is the public meaning of marriage changes. Think about that. Your government, your tax dollars are going to be used to teach your children and your grandchildren that your own ideas of marriage are just grounded in bigotry. They're grounded in irrational hatred towards gay people. Your government and your tax dollars are going to be used to teach your children and your grandchildren that the word husband, which right now means a man in a particular kind of relationship to a woman, could just as well mean a man who's promised to remain in a lifelong sexual relationship with another man. That's a huge culture shift. And you know, we have enough problems in the area of family and marriage without conducting this kind of radical social experiment on the next generation. We don't need to send these messages to the next generation. It will affect every Catholic in this state, every Catholic institution, every Christian, Orthodox, Jewish, Muslim institution. Why do gay marriage advocates, what's the goal of the gay marriage advocates? It is in fact to get orientation treated in our laws exactly the same way that we treat race, so that gay is the new black, as it were. And marriage has become an important issue among the architects of the gay marriage strategy, in large part because it stands in the way of where they want to go. Marriage sits there in the law and says, look, there's something important about husbands and wives that's different from other kinds of unions. And so they have to mow it down to get to where they really want to go, which is to get to the place where orientation is treated just like race, which means that people like you and me and I, who are faithful Catholics or other traditional religious beliefs, get treated like racists in the public square. How will gay marriage affect you? Well, ask yourself, how do we treat people who oppose interracial marriage? Well, they don't throw you in jail. In some sense, you can still be a racist about marriage in this society. But the government intrudes in a lot of ways to marginalize and suppress the racist ideas, because they're opposed to by the government as being opposed to fundamental democratic values. So you can't have a radio broadcasting license if you're a racial bigot. You can't have a professional license. You can't be a doctor, a psychologist, a psychotherapist, a social worker, a teacher if you're openly racist. Employment discrimination law affects not just large corporations, it affects every small businessman, and to a significant extent religious employers as well. There's a case now in England of a Catholic school principal who entered a public civil union with another man, and the bishop was told that he couldn't fire him, that that would be job discrimination. If he were the religion teacher, he could be fired. But the principal's job has nothing to do with teaching religion. The principal of a Catholic school cannot be required to adhere to Catholic faith because that violates employment discrimination law. Tax-exempt status. Accredited schools. You can't run an accredited university on racist lines. Tax-exempt status. You can't run a charity and receive tax-exempt status if you're a racist in this country. And we're beginning to, it's hard to believe that this is really where what this issue is about and where it's going, but we see the evidence all around us. I mean, I find it shocking that just a short time after Massachusetts court became the first court to order gay marriage, Catholic Charities, the oldest adoption agency in the country, or one of, which took care of hundreds of thousands of the most abused and neglected and hard to place children, the least of the least who most need help, was put out of business by the government because that agency would not personally place children with gay couples. You cannot be a good citizen in Massachusetts unless you're willing to personally do gay adoptions. You have to choose between being a good Catholic or a good Christian and a good citizen. In New Jersey, again, just a few months after the court there ordered civil unions that were full marriage equivalents, a Methodist organization lost part of its state real estate tax exemption for precisely this reason, because they didn't allow civil unions to be performed on a beachfront pavilion that they owned. They would let anybody have a wedding there, but they refused to allow civil unions because it's against their church law on their own property. And they were penalized by the government of New Jersey for taking this stand. So I think this is a really serious issue for a lot of reasons. Marriage is a core, fundamental social institution. It's the way we transmit our society into the next generation. What gay marriage does is absolutely sever any link between marriage and the natural family, or the overwhelming reality that children are produced as a result of male-female sexual and romantic attractions, and that we need to teach the next generation. If we want children not to be raised in fatherless households with all the suffering that ensues, we need to raise children to become young men and women who believe it's important that children have a mother and father. And it's going to be a lot harder if your government is instead saying anyone who has that belief is a bigot, just like a racist. Those are the stakes. They could hardly be higher. Well, you remember a few years back in 2000, Californians overwhelmingly passed Proposition 22. Proposition 22 said that only a marriage between a man and a woman is valid or recognized in California. Valid means that those are the only marriages performed in California. Recognized means you can't get married in Massachusetts and expect that to be recognized as a marriage in California. The California Marriage Amendment just takes that same language, the law as it is now, and it puts it in the state constitution so that it's protected from the efforts to get the courts to redefine marriage.